Hi folks, thanks for watching this video. This is going to be about MIG welders, more about what amperage range should you choose for your application, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that think that they need the biggest and the baddest welder to do the biggest and baddest things, and as I'm going to show you, sometimes going big is bad and sometimes going too small is bad as well. And what you would use these amperage ranges for, and a lot of information on what you're actually going to be able to weld with them. Now, we're going to be talking primarily welding mild steel. We're not going to be talking about welding tool steels, stainless steel, aluminum. We're not going to be talking about that. We're going to be looking at these welders as if you're welding mild steel, standard A36 material with ER70S-6 wire with a C25 gas. Now, there's one weld amperage on the list where we're going to be talking about it. It does only run flux core, and that's actually going to be the first one on the list here. That it's at 125 amps. I really have not ever seen a 125 amp machine that runs a gas. I've never seen one with a gas port on the back. So they all have to run self-shielded flux core, which at 125 amps with 035 flux core, you're going to be limited primarily into the 25 gauge, and if you push it, you'll get about an 1/8 inch material. I would not recommend a 125 amp machine to anybody that is looking for a welder, no matter what brand it is, whether it's Lincoln Electric, Miller, ESAB, or even the Harbor Freights. The big reason why I say this is the lack of range in your ability to weld. Plus, you are stuck with self-shielded flux core, which works for some things but will not work for others, and that's where really I just put the 125 amp unit in here to show what's going on with it, why I don't recommend it. But really, let's start talking about the 140 amp. You're going to do everything that the 125 amp machine will do. Plus, if you've got a good circuit, you got good wire, and everything's up to snuff, you're going to be able to weld out to 1/4 inch. So you're looking at a much broader range of what you're able to weld. And for anybody that's going to be doing auto body work, I would really steer them towards a 140 amp welder, because of the fact that not only are you going to be able to do your thicker materials, you're also going to be able to do your thinner stuff. So you're going to be able to weld on your body panels, and you're going to be able to fix latches and things of that nature on the auto body side. The 140 amp units, a lot of people think that, oh, they're just a little bit better than the 125. A lot of manufacturers realize that the 140 amp unit is the way to go for a lot of people, and there are professional shops that will flock towards the 140 amp unit versus the higher amperage units for two big reasons. One, it runs on 110 amp, plus your cost of entry's less, and it'll run a gas. It runs gas, which when you do start getting into the more exotic metals, the stainless steels, the aluminums, the tool steels, this is the one that's gonna start getting you into the entry level of that. Now, like I said before, we're really going to be just talking about mild steel, but I wanted to bring that point up. 200 amp machines, this is more for the mobile professional, the guy that needs to go out, he needs to have the ability to derate the machine down to 140 amps, weld mezzanines with a gas, and still, when he gets back to the shop, run that machine on a 220 circuit and have a full 200 amp welder to run thicker wires, your 035s, and some of the 045 wires. The 200 amp machines are usually the ones that professionals are going to start flocking to now that they've got dual voltages. A few of them I've got on my notes are the MP210 from Lincoln, the Omni Pro from Harbor Freight, the Millermatic 255 from Miller, and the EMP 215 IC from ESOB. With that in mind, this is going to be the last of the 110 machines, because everything that up the range, it's going to want at least a 220 single phase. Now, the 200 amp will get you out to the ½ inch, but you are going to be losing some on the bottom end. You're probably not going to be wanting to do much more than an 18 gauge. Much thinner than an 18 gauge. So keep that in mind, that's why for your more delicate work, you're probably going to want to stay with the 140 amp machine. If you know that you're going to be needing that extra oomph and you can give it the 220 power, then maybe run up to the 200 amp units. That's just my suggestion to you. The 250 is going to start getting you into the bigger machines, the big machines that are not real portable. Yes, I do realize that there are 250 amp machines that are portable per se, but most of them have their own wheels or require a cart to be portable. The 250 machines usually will also allow you to run the big 44-pound spools of wire, which that will save you cost per pound on wire usually, because of the fact that the bigger the roll, cost per pound usually does go down, where the 140, the 200 amp machines, they're going to be stuck with the 10-pound rolls as their biggest size on most of them. So keeping that in mind, you got to have 220 power to run the big 250 amp machines. They do not derate down, most of them. To the 140 amp. Now, this is where you're going to start seeing also your spool guns, so that you're going to be able to do heavier aluminums, and you're also going to be able to run push-pull guns. That's where you're going to start running push-pull guns, is in the 250 amp units. Some of the 200 amp units allow you to run push-pull gun, but most of the time they're not going to start offering you a push-pull gun until you get to the 250 amp range. So with a 250 amp machine, you're going to be looking at about 16 gauge on your bottom end, and up to about 3/4 of an inch on your top side. And this is where, like I said, you're going to be running out of 110. The 300 amp units. The 300 amp units are where you're going to start getting into your industrial units. You're going to be, none of them, as far as I know, you can correct me in the comments, so none of these are going to be real portable per se, and they are going to command 220. There is no 300 amp machine that I've seen that will run the 110 and do it effectively. Now, with a 300 amp unit, you are going to be limited to about a 14 gauge, but you're going to be looking at 1 inch plus on the top end for your wire, for what you can weld with. And that's where the 300 amp units are really what you're going to see around the shops, the ones that do the heavy industrial, but they also have to do the light duty stuff. So this is where the fabrication plants are going to start running, because if they don't have to do anything really on the bottom end, then the 300 amp units are going to be what they want to run. With that said, the 300 amp units are going to be the last units that are going to run on a 220 voltage, because once you get up into the 450s here, the 450 units, you're going to be lucky to do eighth inch, about 14 gauge, eighth inch material. But the people that are looking at the 450s and even the 500 plus amp units, they're not going to be looking at doing anything on the bottom end. Their thinnest material is going to be 1/4 inch, because the 450 units are the ones that are going to be running the big wire. And what the companies that run the 450 or 500 amp units are going to say is, our smallest wire that we stock is an 045 wire. That's where these units come in. These units also have a demand for 3-phase power. They usually want at least a 480 3-phase on up to that 600 volt 3-phase power. These units are what you're going to see in heavy industrial. If you're building buckets for Caterpillar, expect to be running this. If you're going to be building those wind towers, expect to be running this. Those tanks for out in the oil fields, that's what you're going to be running, 450, 500 amp units. They don't work with thin materials. They just don't. These units are big units. These are not portable in the least. These units, the 450 units, a lot of them start off at 500 pounds. 500 pounds, and then that's just the unit alone. Most of these units, they have to have the wire feed separate from the unit, and they're a big machine once you get them all put together. So with 450s and the 500s, like I said, you're only looking at about 14 gauge, 1/8 inch, but you're looking at 3 inch on up on the top end. These are for the places that need to lay weld metal fast, and they don't care. They need the large wires. They're running 052s, 063s. They're running big 1/8 inch wires. These are the units that, as even a professional fab shop, this is what you buy down the road. Now, at the bottom end, the 125s, don't buy them. If you're home hobbyist, the 140 or the 200 amp units are going to be the ticket for you. If you're an auto body, 140 amp or 200 amp is going to be perfect for you. If you're into the light fabrication or even medium fabrication, the 250s and the 300s are going to be perfect for you folks out there. But if you're into heavy fabrication, you're looking at a 450 or a 500 plus amp unit. So I hope that this was informative. I hope that I get some good feedback down in the comments. And thanks for watching. Please comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.